We've promised you the best coverage for this India-England series. We call it the Grudge series. And here it is. Special preview to the Visakhapatnam test match with three of our experts, two English legends and Sourav Ganguly. Sir Ian Botham, Nasser Hussain and Sourav joining us from Calcutta. I'll start with you, Nasser. First test match, if one team stood out, that was England. Is India going to do the second test match at Vizag with some scarring? Or, as Kohli said, they've not won. We managed to draw and we've learned to draw.
Yeah, I don't think India will have any scarring. Their record at home is exceptional, especially of late under Kohli. And I thought you've got to remember it was a reasonably important toss in the last game as well. And to get a draw, having conceded 540 in your first innings, you've got to learn to draw as well. So it's a good effort that by India. So it becomes an important toss to win. But it just puts into the question mark for India. It can't all be just about winning the toss, get a score, bowl your spinners, win the game. That's how it's been of late. They have to put in, what about doing it the other way? If you lose the toss, what is our plan B? I thought they were left without a plan B in the last game. And also, they've realised there's areas that they've got to work on. I mean, their catching in that first 6 overs was abysmal, wasn't it? 3 catches dropped. You know, batsmen getting big runs. They were, what, 220 for 1? To be bowled out for 430 odd, so that middle order and late middle order need to continue to get runs. I think it's a realisation, but they said it before the series, that they can't take England lightly. England won their last 3 test series against India. A lot of their players have good records against India, and I think it's just a wake-up call for Kohli and the team that we can't take England lightly.
So Ian, I mean, what Nasser said, I don't think India did take England lightly, because the talk among the players, and I've spoken to some of them, I spoke to Ashwin for about an hour, and he was like, if one team's played us very well, it's England. But they've just done that again. I mean, to see them do that yet again when Ashwin at the top of his powers, were you surprised a little bit?
No, actually I wasn't, because I actually thought a little bit like Nasser. I thought after Dhaka and playing in Bangladesh on those pitches can only get better. They'll only be a happier team playing on better surfaces. In boxing terms, you would put it down as a winning draw for England. You'd say on points they were ahead after that first game. They got a few good body blows in. They didn't allow anyone to get away from them, and didn't let the bowlers get on top of them. So I think England will be very, very happy with it. No, I don't think it's going to scar India. I think it might sharpen up India. I think India will come at us harder, and I think it's going to be an exciting test series. I really do, because this England side can play, and they bat all the way down. You've got Broad at 11, who scored 160 odd in a test match at Lord's. So you've got all these players can bat, and so there is no tail really in the England side. And with the bowlers they've got, the all-rounders, Stokes and Wokes, Ali, you know, these are serious players. And Wokes is probably the most improved player in Test cricket in the last 12 months. Ben Stokes is box office. You don't know what's going to happen next. He makes things happen. He's great. From our point of view, to have to watch him every week is a real hardship, believe me. It is magnificent. You just don't know. He keeps on surprising us. And he will, you know, the Indian crowd, you must remember, before this last test match, had only seen him make 0-0 and 0. Yeah. And then he got injured and didn't play anymore. Well, he's a different player now. And this England side have a different mentality. New management that came in a year or so, 2 years ago. New thought patterns. Captain expressing himself not just on the field but in the dressing room. England are a tougher opponents than probably when they won here the last time.
Sourav, I mean, Sir Ian is absolutely spot on when he mentions Ben Stokes. I mean, someone who can get a 258 in South Africa is no joke. I mean, he's serious talent. Maybe the next Ian Botham in the making. You've got to do serious stuff to be Ian Botham, but yes, the talent is there. But would you say India was under par? Or would you say England was just really good in Rajkot?
I think India have played well, to be honest. Winning a toss in these conditions is very, very crucial. If England bats 4th, India will put a lot of pressure on England in the next 4 test matches. So I don't think India, except those catches early on in the first session of the first test, I don't think they've done poorly. You know, when an opposition gets 500, you have to bat really, really well to get 480, and that's exactly what India did. Yes, there was a bit of hiccup, but I think it was still a long way away from winning the test match. But you got to give credit to England, you know, because 5 test matches since 2012 in India, and they've played better than India. So that is the point which India needs to keep it in mind, except that first test match in Ahmedabad in 2012. You look at Bombay, you look at Calcutta, you look at Nagpur, and you look at Rajkot now. These four venues, if you have to say which was a better team, or which was a team who had better results, it was England.
Nasser, I mean, for me, one thing that stood out was the English spinners. I mean, Moeen Ali, for some reason, does exceptionally well against India for the longest time. 19 wickets in that 2013-14 series, which both of us tried to analyze when we were in England. Now and that 100 has spurred him on. Were you sort of really impressed on, and what are they doing different that the Indian spinners weren't?
Well, I think, first of all, it's helpful that they've got three. I think sometimes Moeen Ali, when he's on his own in England, when you have to play just the one spinner and the pitches we play on, I think he feels like it's just up to him to perform all the time. And you've got to remember, here is a lad that's predominantly a batsman who's learning his art as an international off-spinner. I think he feels more comfortable as one of three. The pressure's off him a little bit. You look at India's record against off-spin is not great, actually. You know, if you look at the actual stats, left-arm spin compared to off-spin, they play left-arm spin very well. Kohli in particular, I think, has an exceptional record against them, but off-spin not so well. I think that Rahane, 45 test dismissals, 15 of them, that's 1/3 against off-spin. So, and he got out the other day against off-spin, quite a poor shot. So I think England feel that's an option, and you're right, in the last series in England, Moeen Ali was brilliant. I think we all both felt Moeen Ali is what he is, but the real surprise, the real eye-opener for us was how well Adil Rashid bowled. He's not bowled like that for England. Even in one-day cricket, he's not bowled for that, like that for England, because in one-day cricket you can have men back, like with Mishra, you can have all your men back and you bowl the odd long hop and the odd full toss, you get away with it, and that's how Adil has been. I have never seen him bowl with so much control of length. In Bangladesh he didn't bowl like that. So something has clicked for Rashid, whether it be just one game, or if you're an England fan, you hope that's for the whole series. And also at times, which is amazing, it didn't look like they were picking him every single time. And for an Indian batsman not to pick an English leg spinner, it's usually the other way round. So it's a credit to Adil Rashid.
Clearly Vijay didn't pick him, and the Ganguly was a sharp turn. I mean, and it was an exceptional spell. I mean, he was getting sharp turn and bounce, Adil Rashid.
Yeah, and I think you need to have a look at the background to why it's happening, or possibly why it's happening. And I think Sacklin. I think Sacklin has come into the equation. And I hope that England keeps Sacklin. They've said to the third test, I think, now. I hope he stays for all the tests. Because without doubt, he must be having some effect. Even if it's just on the mind of Adil Rashid. But he is a different bowler. Moeen looks more relaxed because, as Nas says quite rightly, he's got a partner now. You know, he's got someone at the other end who's taking wickets. That takes the pressure off him, so he can bowl. He's not the #1 spinner. Rashid is probably the #1 spinner now. And that, Sacklin has got to have had a lot to do with that. And I think that England need to wrap up Sacklin, put him in a little box and keep him right next to Adil Rashid for the until the end of this series, because he's definitely made an impact. England have fielding coaches, they have batting coaches, they have bowling coaches, Seamer. Surely to goodness, we need a spinning coach, and I think we found the right man.
Sort of moving away from England and talking about India a little bit. I mean, I know you've been speaking about Gautam Gambhir, you and I have, off camera and on camera. Do you think by calling in KL Rahul, is this the right move? Is this the way to sort of manage Gautam Gambhir? Was he under pressure? Was he a weak link in the attack? What is your take on the Indian reaction to Gautam Gambhir and the way we've handled the situation?
Even if Gautam Gambhir gets a 50 or gets some runs, KL Rahul will always be their first choice. There's no doubt about it. But I think the system has to work for everyone the same. You know, just like Rohit Sharma got so many opportunities in spite of failures, they kept bringing him back and kept giving him confidence that we need you to perform. I think the rule should be the same for everyone. Yes, Gambhir struggled in this test match, got a good delivery, I thought, from Chris Wokes in the second innings, which just bounced a bit and it went to the third slip. Now, if you want Gautam Gambhir in the side, you have to give him confidence.
Do you think Gautam Gambhir sort of, you know, perhaps was a bit of a going back thing rather than looking ahead? Or KL Rahul, correct call?
I think, you know, India should now look forward all the time. Rahul is the future, you know, get him fit, get him in. I think the selectors have done exactly the right thing. You know, if India can strengthen their batting lineup, then England will realise, right, we're really into this series. This is the side we expected to play against.
And the one man who is the future is Ravichandran Ashwin. I mean, yes, he's had one bad test match, but sort of speaking to him, you know he's full of confidence, he's growing well with the bat, doing well with the ball. Were you slightly disappointed, or do you think he'll come back really hungry?
Oh, I have no doubt he'll come back. You know, he's a proud man, he's a clever man, he's an intelligent man. He will work it out for himself, of that I have no doubt. And what's impressed me the most is his batting. With the bowling we've known about for a long time. We know he can bowl, he's been doing it, but to push him up to number 6, and he's responded really well. And so that gives the team more options, batting or bowling, depending on the conditions, when you've got a genuine all-rounder, and he has now become a genuine all-rounder.
Before I go into a break, were you impressed with Virat at least? I mean, the way he batted in the last day, even that he took that call about one over. So he basically did not lose his sense of humor even when under pressure.
Yeah, it shows how crystal clear his mind is, that when the ball bounces over his shoulder for a spinner, that he's calling for there's that one bouncer for the over. He shows that his mind isn't scrambled, that he's always thinking. It didn't surprise me in that second innings, because he is an absolute street fighter, this bloke. He really is. I mean, that's why he's so brilliant in run chases in one-day cricket for India, because he sees that target and it's like, over my dead body, I'm going to get that target. And it was the same the other day, batting second. It's over my dead body, you're going to win this test match. No way, I'm going to be here at the end. It didn't surprise me at all. This bloke, you know, at times his captaincy, having lost the toss, he could have worked on certain areas with his captaincy. Like at times he spread the field out when new batsmen came in and he should have attacked. But as far as his batting goes, I mean, he was unlucky in the first innings. You know, if you really think about it, England didn't get him out in the test match. He got himself out by jumping on his stumps. So that's a good sign for India that Kohli, who hasn't got a good record against England with the bat, played really well in that test match.
As Nasser said, time for a quick break, but yes, I mean, if you were there in that press conference in Rajkot at the end of the match, it was as if what Virat was trying to tell all of us was, over my dead body, this series will be given up. Yes, the second test will be one cracker. It's set up beautifully, and we will continue this conversation with two legends here, Ian Botham, Sir Nasser Hussain, and back with Sourav Ganguly from Kolkata. Then I asked Nasser, before I went into that break, about Virat. Sourav, the same question for you. I know you're a great Virat Kohli fan. Did that sort of tell you that this man, even under pressure, was enjoying himself?
I think it also shows his presence of mind. You know, he hasn't lost the fun bit in spite of under pressure, and it also shows a very clear mind of Virat Kohli, as Nasser Hussain said it on air very rightly, and that it just shows the clarity of his thoughts. You know, he's just ready to take one ball at a time and play on his merit, and that's why he's such a class act. So it's good fun. It's good fun to watch, and it's great to see, and for all athletes, that there is still a bit of fun in sport in spite of being under pressure.
Do you think England could have won the match somewhat?
The only thing is to be wise after the event and say, should they have declared a little bit earlier? When you look at a final scoreboard and they're 6 down and they're nowhere near the target. But, you know, Sir Ian's right. For most of that game, the pitch was really flat. In 4.5 days, there were, 20-odd wickets. So, you know, he had to be a little bit conservative. First test of the series. I think you ask most pundits what would they have done. Most of them would have said, bat on till just after lunch and declare at 300. So maybe he went 5 minutes too many to get 310.
You agree?
Absolutely, I said it on air. We were all asked actually that morning, what do we think would be the declaration? And I said, well, look, maybe 50 overs maximum, and you want 300 on the board.
Overs.
And it was 49 overs and it was 300. And I think he did exactly the right thing. It's the first match of a 5-match series. The last thing you want to do is give the opposition when you've dominated the game for 4.5 days, why would you suddenly risk throwing it all away in 60 overs?
So after the first test, will I be right in saying that they now perhaps have the self-belief that they can even win this series?
Absolutely. I think they believed that before the start of the first test. I spoke to a couple of the boys the day before, and they were very buoyant. I think they were pleased to have gone 1-1 in Bangladesh. Okay, we lost the last test, but it was exceptional circumstances. But, like Nas said earlier, to come then onto that pitch, it would be like going to heaven. You know, suddenly I'm playing on a pitch, the ball's bouncing, it's coming through, I can play my shots. In fact, Alistair Cook, at the very start of that test match, was the most uncomfortable I've ever seen him at the start of the game, because I think he was suddenly going from pitches that were going sideways and slow. Suddenly, he had a couple that bounced. He should have been caught second or third ball of the game, and he wasn't. But then he settled in. And then you sort of knew he was going to get runs.
Alistair Cook in India, this is a strange one. You know, it's Southampton 2014, Ravindra Jadeja drops in third slip. Everything changes for Alistair Cook. 95, 3 test match wins. Here also, I mean, we drop him, Alistair Cook gets another 100. The most successful batsman in Asia with 900.
It's remarkable, isn't it? His record is remarkable. We were looking at the stats from the last series here, and we all remember the 100 in Ahmedabad, and we all definitely remember the 100 in Mumbai. Everyone forgets the 190 in Kolkata, and he was only out, I think, jumping over the ball at the non-strikers end, run out ridiculously, should have got 200. His record against India is phenomenal, and he said to me on interview when he did his 100th test match, and I said that to him, have you seen your record in the subcontinent? You know, it's better than anyone. And he went, yeah, not bad for someone who only has 2 shots, you know, a little clip off the hip and a square cut. And he doesn't come down the top like Vijay and hit over the top, and he doesn't slog sweep, and he doesn't reverse sweep. He just knows his game, and he sticks to it, and he sticks to it, and he sticks to it. And it's a worry for India, because if you look historically, when he has started series well, whether it be 2012 or the Ashes in Australia when he got 600 runs or 570 runs, when he starts a series well, that is dangerous, because it means, especially in a 5-test series, he's not someone to just say, oh, I've got enough. He'll go on and on and on. He's a machine.
In fact, that's what we sort of think in India, that if there's anybody who can get near Sachin Tendulkar's record in test match cricket, it's perhaps Alistair Cook. 30 hundreds, you know, 10,000 runs. Even if you give him 4 years, he gets close.
I don't see anyone else in the game with a chance of getting close. And he is the only person with a realistic opportunity. You know, 5100 is a long way away. He's got 30. He's doing quite poorly. He's just got 30.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, most other players would be delighted to have 30, but he will be thinking. He's hungry. He's not 32 yet, so he's got plenty of time. Will he get there? Time will only tell. Yeah. Realistically, he's got a chance. He has got a chance. And I can't think of anyone else in world cricket who's got that chance at this moment.
Let's switch it a bit. I mean, how do you analyze Virat Kohli as India's test captain? If you've followed him over the years, this 5-bowler theory is a departure from what Mahendra Singh Dhoni used to do. There's a bit of an aggression. I mean, the body language has changed. He talks about winning. Your impression of Virat Kohli as captain?
Well, I don't see Virat being any other way. You only have to watch him play. He's not a negative player. He's not a negative thinking man. He occasionally drifts off a little bit. I think he got frustrated with the catching and the fielding in that first innings of England. And I think he maybe just lost it for a little while. But I think that was just pure anger. You know, he was upset and felt we'd had the chances to make big inroads, and we'd blown it. We dropped 3 in the first 6-7 overs. The only thing I would be concerned with is if the captaincy becomes a burden for him, would it then affect his batting? Which it can do. At the moment, I don't have any problems whatsoever. And I'm sure that Virat, if he says, oh, you know, this is too much, I need to just play, but he doesn't strike me that kind of person. I think he likes the best players, and the best team players want to be in the hottest place in the kitchen. And I think Virat Kohli wants to be there. Give me the challenge, give me the hardships, and I'll come through it.
Sort of a different question compared to this series. Virat Kohli suddenly is faced with competition. I mean, so far, away series in Sri Lanka, beating South Africa at home, decimating New Zealand at home, beating the West Indies. Here comes competition. Steve Smith started brilliantly, taking over captaincy, 2-0 down against South Africa at home. Kane Williamson started well. The 3 poster boys, except Joe Root, who's not yet captain, suddenly the 3 poster boys have the most difficult challenges staring at them.
Yeah, it does go a little bit like that with captaincy. You look at the graph of most captains, in particular England captains who I can talk of, you know, you start well, and the whole build-up and the whole feeling and passion about being your captain of your country, so your performance goes like that. Look at Virat's performance, look at Smith, look at Cook, Strauss, Atherton, Hussain, everyone. And then, like Beefy says, the pressure of captaincy, especially with someone like Kohli, because this period, what is it, 13 test matches plus all the one-dayers, he's going to need to be looked after in the certain way that certain other cricketers are going to need to be looked after, like Ben Stokes for England. So you do keep an eye on that. But, you know, going back to your original question, I think what happened in the last game will be good for Kohli, because he's had a plan A, win the toss, bat. He's been brilliant with the toss in India. So to lose and still come out the other side with a draw is an exceptional thing for him. It shows that he can fight. He's not just going to roll over if he loses the toss. So one or two things I would have done different as captain. I was a little bit surprised when Root and Stokes came together that he pushed the field out straight away and he offered left hand, right hand just to knock it around and take the single, and they both got 100. And young Hamid, you know, here's a boy, you name another boy that makes a debut and doesn't get bounced on a pitch that was going through. I thought India missed a trick there, that no one went at Hamid. I think he had 2 bounces in the whole game. And I'm sure, I mean, whether this pitch here in Vizag is quick enough to do that, but the last one definitely was. They seem to be bouncing Cook, but not Hamid. So just a couple of things that the backroom staff can look at to help. Kohli can't do everything. He can't do absolutely everything as captain. He's going to need help from backroom staff as well. That when he comes in at lunchtime, someone says, "Skipper, you haven't bounced Hamid yet. Let's have a little spell at going to him." So he's going to need some help.
I've got 2 more minutes on this show, Sir Ian. Quick question to both of you. Does India still fancy itself as favourites, or it's 50-50?
At the start of the first test, am I allowed to tell the odds? Tell you what the odds were?
Please.
I was amazed. A 2-horse race going into the series with England winning the 3 series previous. The draw was 10-1. England were 12-1 to win it, and India were 1-10 on. Wow. Well, if I was a gambling man, there's only one. You only look at 2 prices, and that's the 12-1 and the 10-1. And I was amazed. I don't think we'll see those odds again in this series. I think it's going to be a fascinating series against a lot of experts and a lot of expectation. I think England, can they win this series? Yes, they can.
Wow.
Of course England can win the series. You look at their record. You just named all those stats in the last 3. You look at their players, they're not scared of the Indian side in any way, but these next 5 days will determine the series. Because if it is a rank turner and India win, then everyone will be back where Bangladesh was, and everyone will be saying, "Oh, England can't play when it spins." You can imagine the press here, press back at home, England can't play when it spins. But if England win on a rank turner, where do India go? They've tried their trump card, they've played on a good one, they've played on a dodgy one, and they still can't beat England. So these next 4 or 5 days could well determine the outcome of the series.
4 or 5 days to determine the outcome of the series. If England wins, that if is the biggest if that will determine this series. Clearly, fascinating test match in prospect, and we will keep getting you the very best analysis, comments, and the build-up, and, you know, obviously the results of this series. We call it the grudge series. Only, even if Sir Ian was a gambling man and betted 12-1 in this India, he wouldn't get the money. On that note, it's time to sign off, but we'll be back. We'll be back with all of them. Sir Ian, Nasser, and Sourav, thank you very much for talking to us.